Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you guys, everybody, for attending today's Lunch and Learn. Today, we're excited to welcome Dustin Smith. He's with Elite Group, and he'll be teaching us about home inspections. So I'll pass this over to Doug, and he can answer any of your questions. Doug?
There we are. Well, good morning or afternoon, rather, everybody. How are you? I'm going to turn this. Excellent, excellent. So my name is Dustin Smith. I'm a territory manager for the Elite Group for the County of Los Angeles. The Elite Group now is the largest privately owned inspection company in the country. We average right around 600 inspections a week. That would be between residential and commercial. I have 87 inspectors. All 87 of my inspectors are CAR certified and carry a $2 million insurance policy as well. And as we go along, I'll explain a little bit more about that. But Elite, we're much more than just inspection. We also offer a termite, we do mold, we do air quality, which technically is mold, roof certification, sewer cameras, infrared, which is on a part of every single one of our inspections. We also offer drones, if that's something you're looking for, depending on the size of the property itself. We do a repair pricer, which is a secondary report we can manufacture for you post-inspection to give you the estimated cost to fix the problems that we found, which means you can go ahead and work your farms and do your open houses, and I can be the one to make sure I get you all those quotes. We also do new construction and builder's warranty, and are currently building out our home maintenance department as well. We've been around now going on 40 years, still owned by the same family. So the two gentlemen who started the company are now on the board of directors as well, and a lot of their family members work with Elite as well. So although we're the largest privately owned inspection company in the country, we're still very much a family as we work together. As we go through the presentation, whether you are joining us via Zoom or in person enjoying some delicious chicken, you guys missed out. Feel free to go ahead and just let me know what your question is. You want anything repeated, let me know. Throughout the presentation, you will see small cameras in the corner. That means to take a picture of that slide because it's probably super important, or we think it is at least. And then again, if you have any questions as we go, we'll address those. The bottom line is here, I want to bring value to you guys and explain about the inspection industry as a whole, not just the reason that Elite is the best, but also other things you can do to go ahead and limit your liability as agents. You guys ready to go? Excellent. Well, maybe not. There we go. Okay, so we've been inspecting to a higher standard since 1984, as I mentioned earlier, still with the same ownership. We're still on the board of directors. Right now, we're at actually 122 employees, and 87 of those are certified inspectors who are certified through InterNACHI, and that's something we're covered as well. So you can see we went from a two-man operation just about 40 years ago now to 122 people. So we're pretty proud of that growth. We've done it gradually, and I think we've done it the right way. So our mission statement, basically the thing that we want to do at Elite is we want to go ahead and make sure we give the best possible inspection experience across the board. And one of the ways we do this is that we try to make clarity be the focal point. So in order to go ahead and make sure that clarity can be something that we can go ahead and use to our advantage, that means you want the selling side and buying side all to be on the same page. When you go ahead and have someone decide to use Elite as your inspection company, we want to make sure they understand what they're receiving. So we want to go and make sure that we set expectations clearly and upfront. We also want to make sure that education is really the biggest part of this. So we're not going in there to go ahead and sway a buyer one way or another, or a seller one way or another. We simply want to educate them on the status of the home as it is. So one of the things I always try to tell my buyers when I work with them directly is I try to say, our job is to come in and give you the status of your investment. We're not looking at you going ahead and saying, hey, I'm buying a home, this is what your house looks like. We're saying this is what your investment looks like. For example, if you were to go ahead and purchase a very expensive car and there were some problems with it, prior to purchasing that vehicle, you'd want to know what the expense was going to be to get the vehicle to run correctly, right? It's very similar with when it comes to a property inspection. Prior to spending the next 30 years writing checks to a bank or getting to a commercial loan where you have to take care of the property yourself, we want to give you clarity to the current status of the property as it sits. And then finally, what we want to do is make sure we always go above and beyond for our agents. So what this means is we do classes like this, where you can now put a face to the name. I apologize for the face, it's the one that I have, but now you have a face to the name. So what we want to do here is make sure we can build the relationship. So for example, if you have a client that prefers Mandarin, let me know. I'll get a Mandarin speaking inspector, a Spanish speaking inspector, a male or a female. I don't know if we can say that anymore, but you guys get the idea. The bottom line is let me know who they'd be more comfortable with, and I'll try to find that inspector to match them up. Also, when you guys go ahead and put your orders in, you can tell me something like, this particular buyer is very worried about this part of the home. By letting me know that, I can put a note on the file and be sure that our inspector puts emphasis on that so your buyer feels like they're getting the best for their dollar. Does that make sense? Outstanding. All right. So I do offer multiple classes. Today is Home Inspection 101, but if you guys decide you like me and my chicken enough, I'm sure we can come back and do something else. We do have a ton. Mold is a very popular class. I have one of the 12 major defects. I actually did this in Vegas in front of about 5,000 people at the Bellagio one time. So I have a little soft spot in my heart for that one. But either way, the idea here is that we want to continuously to bring value to you guys. So regardless if we can work together or not, an educated realtor is a better realtor. Would you agree? Well, that's my job. And to make sure they're full. All right. Home Inspection 101. Here we go. We're going to jump right in. Again, feel free to take notes, ask questions, or take pictures. If you don't get the value out of this, I feel like I let you down. So let me know what I can do. All right. A brief history. Inspection has not been around all that long. It actually started back in 1984 with the Eastern versus Strasburger. What had happened is a family had purchased a home. It turned out to be a property with tons of problems that were not disclosed. They went ahead and they sued. And then what happened is the courts decided that moving forward, it was going to be up to the broker and agent to go ahead and list anything wrong with the house. That was going to have to be the deal. So you guys now are not only going to be agents, you're going to be home inspectors. Well, obviously, that was not going to be fair. It was not going to be fair to say that an agent now needs to step outside of what their licensing tells them to do in order to go ahead and be sure that all the defects of the home that were known were going to go ahead and be given out during the transaction. So things such as bad plumbing, bad roofs, if you have bad wires here, they wanted you to go ahead as agents. And when you do your AVID, basically to go through and list these things like a home inspector. So what happened is Bill, where are we at here? It's actually Bill 1406 was introduced, and basically it was done by, this was done by the agents and by the brokers of Southern California in general, but California. And they had said, hey, we don't think it's fair that you're telling us that we need to go ahead now and disclose things for a third party. Our job is to come in and use the information that's given to us by our seller or buyer in order to go ahead and complete a transaction. So the bill was pushed through. And now what happened is Carr said there had to be a seller's disclosure. So now the legal liability was going to shift to the selling side, saying if you know that you have a bad roof, for example, or if you know you have a bad plumbing, for example, you need to go ahead and be forthcoming about that before the transaction can be completed. And we have that now in our forms. Also, the AVID was officially born. Obviously, you guys hopefully know what the AVID is. You're going to walk around and do your visual inspection. So now what we're doing is we're going ahead and cutting up the liability here. So the seller needs to be honest about what they have. The agent needs to go ahead and do a look around on their own to list anything that would negatively affect the value of the home. And Carr now put on their forms recommending a professional home inspection. So all because of that one suit, the home inspection industry was invented. Now, the thing here you want to pay attention to is this word, professional home inspection. In the state of California, property inspection is 100% unregulated. That means all you need is a business license to be an inspector. Nothing else. No training, there's no insurance, there's no license to get, there's no bond you have to carry. You literally can just become a home inspection company with a business license, and that's still very true today. So if you ever go ahead and tell your clientele, I recommend you get a certified, a licensed, and insured. These things are not realistic in California. You need to say professional home inspection company to cover your liability, because again, it's a 100% unregulated industry. So you see here, liability, risk, disclosure, which is the reason we went ahead and made sure that all of our inspectors are now Carr certified. So if you go to the Carr website, you can pull up every single one of the inspectors that works for Elite. In order to be certified through Carr, you have to pass a criminal and federal background check. Now, why is that important? Has anyone here ever had to go ahead and leave an inspector behind at a house? Well, don't you want to make sure that they're not going to be a thief or not at least a cop thief? That's the idea here, because you want to make sure. Well, yeah, there you go. Especially nowadays, right? So that's part of it. The idea here is because it's unregulated, the only way that this particular part of business, this part of the transaction being inspection, is ever going to get to be in the same moral standard that your great leader runs by is going to be if we decide to do it as the industry leader. That's the reason we've gone above and beyond on so many different levels for ourselves to go ahead and say, hey, the people who don't have the agent's best interest in mind are going to get pushed out of the industry. And we're going to go ahead and go above and beyond so nobody can compare with us by the extra steps that we take. And I'm still learning the new slides here. Okay, here we go. So a home inspection. Obviously, you guys know what it is. but we have to look at it. Exactly what is a home inspection if you're going to explain it to a new buyer? So we take a look here. A home inspection was we're going to look at all the vital parts of a home. The plumbing, the electricity, we're going to look at the roof, get up in the attic to get the real story of the roof, the foundation. We're going to go ahead and basically give the home a one-over on every single part of that. And as silly as it sounds, I actually covered this twice in this particular class. You would be surprised about the amount of buyers, especially new buyers, who don't understand what is and what is not part of their home. I've had people call me before and say, why didn't you let me know that the tree in the front of my house was rotten? Well, I'm not a botanist. That wasn't what I was supposed to do, but I don't blame them. They didn't know. So that's the thing. If we can go ahead and start setting those expectations, it's going to make it smoother for everybody involved. Think about this. The only time that you're really upset when you buy a product or a service is when you don't get what you thought you were going to get. If you go to a restaurant and you think we're going to have this amazing steak dinner tonight, and you get there and it's like a Denny's kind of steak or a Norm's kind of steak, you're going to be upset because you expected something different. Well, that's the same thing we want to do with home inspection. We want to let our buyers and sellers know what's included, what's not included, and the scope of what a home inspection is. The real estate inspection, basically, you want to know is that we are non-invasive. The elite inspection is a non-invasive visual inspection. So we are not going to cut holes in walls. We're not going to move furniture around. We're not going to rip carpet up. We're going to get the status of the property as we see it. The general inspection is not a contract, not a licensed contractor or specialize in any particular aspect. We are all educated on building science. So what that means when we go into a property, we're looking to see what here would affect the integrity of the home. We're not looking to see how ugly the backsplashes. And believe it or not, people sometimes do ask us that. Can you give me the age of these tiles in the bathroom? That's well out of our spectrum, but they don't know that. So we have to be patient and understand. Come on, there we go. So why is it important to get a home inspection? There's still a form, and we'll cover this too, where your buyers can go ahead and say they don't want a home inspection. They don't have to do it. So we need to go ahead and talk to these buyers and explain to them exactly the importance of it. For the buyer, to me, it's very obvious. We're going to give you the status of the property as it sits. We're going to let you know, hey, here's the health of the investment you're going to make. Here's what the property looks like currently. Here are the issues that we found before you get behind a mortgage and have to go ahead and be married to it. For the seller, although they may not like what they find out sometimes in our reports, it actually covers them too. Because if the seller goes ahead and sells a home and there's a huge problem that they did not know about, they could be open to litigation. Even in California, all sales are as is until you go to court. Then it's going to be exactly about how you can present your case and who people believe. So again, the sellers may not like it, but again, it's actually giving them a clearer view of the sale, how it's going through. It's going to save them litigation down the road. And then for the realtor, this goes ahead and gives you a better educated buyer. Now your person knows exactly what they're getting into. So maybe you might have that buyer who goes, I know I'm only clear for a house at 700,000, but I want the 750. Show me the 750 house. I don't care. You go ahead and you show them exactly what the price is, why they can't afford it, and the difference between the house that they can qualify for and the house they can't qualify for. So again, as a realtor, our job is to go ahead and assist you. So instead of you saying, hey buyer, this house is outside of realistically your price range, we do the inspection and it will show them why it's out of the price range. We actually do this. About 5% of our business is for realtors who have higher end clientele who don't think that the properties are worth it, and they have to show them larger properties. And we can go ahead and do a dual package that way as well. Any questions so far? I know it's a lot of information. All right. So this is, what's that?
I'm sorry, coffee because the chicken was so good. That's why coffee.
Well, there's more. I can't take it with me. Get rid of it. All right. So here's one of the worst cases that we've ever seen about how an inspector can go ahead and really keep an agent open liability-wise. Our Termite Services. So this is a first-time home buyer. They went ahead, they finally got the house they wanted to get into, and I think we can all agree by the time that a buyer is ready to do inspection, emotion is higher than logic. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah.
They've been through a lot. They've had their credit pooled. They probably had to miss work to see things. In this market, they probably missed out on a few houses. So there's a lot of stress involved. So these new couple finally finds a house they're going to qualify for. They come to the inspection, and the agent says, "Oh, my friend's going to do the inspection. He's a licensed contractor. Well, he smells a little bit like alcohol." So the wife of the buying couple goes, "I don't feel comfortable doing this." The husband goes, "I missed 2 days of work. We've seasoned the credit. We've been pulling the IRS. Every weekend we're going to see houses I can't get. Let's just get this house inspected. I want to move in." They go forward with it. So about 2 hours go by, and the couple have a previous engagement to go to. So they say, "Hey, we're going to leave. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll go over the report together." Agent goes, "No problem." She sends them on their way. Another 2 hours goes by. The agent now has to go do a showing and tells her friend, do me a favor, lock up when you leave, meet us here tomorrow at 9 a.m. to go over the report with the prospective buyers. He says, no problem, she leaves. Next morning, they show up at the property, the buyers and the agent. Unfortunately, the contractor's not there. They open the front door and there's 1.5 inches of water all through the bottom of the house. What had happened is this unlicensed contractor had gone upstairs to test the drain pan in the master. A drain pan is a small pan that will go ahead and take excess water that drains slowly from a slow draining pipe. Well, this one was clogged. He left the water on overnight and he flooded the house. So the sellers went ahead and had the house looked at how much it's going to cost. $57,400, I believe. It's not, oh, it is, yes. $57,400 to replace the floors. Well, the first thing the sellers go is we're going to sue the inspector, the unlicensed contractor. He gets the call. He goes, I don't have the $200 I charged him to look at the house. He goes, I'm actually going to file bankruptcy. He files bankruptcy, opens up a new shop under a new name. Because remember, in California, as a home inspector, he has no license to lose. He has no insurance to lose. He has nothing to lose. He just closes the business, files BK, can't be sued. Well, then who did the seller sue next, do you think? Okay, right off the bat, absolutely. So they go ahead, they're going to sue the agent. So they go to court. And about 40 minutes into the discussion of the case, the judge asked the agent one question. How did this unlicensed contractor become part of the transaction? Agent goes, well, it's my friend, and I offered to be part of the deal. He goes, good, your friend just cost you $57,400, case dismissed. Just like that. Just like that. You are licensed professionals. When you bring in a third party, it is still on you. You are the conduit here. And if you get into home inspectors that don't have insurance, home inspectors that don't care, you're now taking on liability, hoping that they will go ahead and step up. One of the greatest things I've ever heard in some of the classes I've taken about litigation is if you're going to go ahead and hire a friend for anything, are you prepared to sue your friend? If you're not prepared to sue your friend, you probably shouldn't bring them into the transaction. Business is business, that's how it goes. So unfortunately, that agent had to pay $57,400 out of pocket. Now, had this happened with the Elite Group, we have a $1 million policy of E&O insurance that would have covered it. We also carry an additional $1 million for workers' comp in case one of my guys or girls get hurt out there. So you're covered when you work with us, but you don't have to be. We don't have to carry insurance in an unlicensed state. So be careful who you bring in. Make sure you know who you bring in, because again, the minute they're in, that liability is still yours if you're the person that introduced them to the transaction. Now that you're scared, let's have some fun. Okay. So what is a home inspector, right? This is one of the biggest things that I'd like to point out is we do not inspect the code. So if you ever have somebody who has a code issue or permit issue, we do not look into that. We simply are going to go ahead and investigate and inspect the home that we have in front of us. We don't pull permits and we don't inspect to any code. So if there's a city code, does not mean we're inspecting to it. We're inspecting to it within our insurance parameters. So we're very much generalists. The best way I can explain what a home inspector is by using the doctor analogy. Let's say you have a tickle in your throat and you go to the doctor, and during the examination, they find that you have a heart palpitation. They would then send you to a cardiologist. If I come to your property and I'm taking a look around and let's say your HVAC unit is not working, I'm going to recommend that a professional HVAC person comes out and takes a further look at it. So I'm here to go ahead and notate defects, but I'm not here to diagnose them. And that's a very important thing you want to tell your buyers, because a lot of buyers think we're going to come into the house, we're going to point out everything that's wrong, we're going to see through walls, and we're going to fix it. So when that doesn't happen, they get very upset. So what we want to do is have the conversation up front and make sure that clarity is there of exactly what a home inspection company does. We are subject matter experts. Remember I said earlier about science of building? That's exactly what we do. For all of us to go ahead and get our certification, we learned about building science. So we're not particular in electricity, we're not plumbers, or sorry, we're not electricians, we're not plumbers, we're not foundationalists, we're not contractors. We are home inspectors that are certified through INTERNACHI, which I'll explain here shortly. Unbiased. Our job is not to go ahead and sway the transaction one way or another. Of course, if you hire us on the selling side, we hope the deal goes through. If you hire us on the buying side, we hope that the buy goes through. But we would never go ahead and give false information in order to make a house look better or worse. Our job is simply to go ahead and state what we see. It's really surprising the amount of agents out there who will actually ask us to change our reports. Oh, you know, my client didn't like this. Can you change that? Well, absolutely not, because that's not fair. Although you are the people who I market to the most, my real client are your buyers or sellers. So I need to do right by them. So one of the things I love about this company is you always say, treat the inspection as if you're selling it to a family member. You know, if you're going to show this house for your mom to buy it and you know the plumbing's horrible, would you hide that from your mother? Of course not. So we don't want to hide that from buyers either. We don't feel there's a moral compass here that's strong enough to make us sway away from ours. On non-alarming communication, this used to have a cooler name, I thought. It used to be called non-deal killing language training, which I invented, which nobody likes anymore. Yeah, it's a real mouthful. But the idea here is we're not here to give our opinions. We're not here to give adjectives. What I always tell my new trainees when they go on their jobs, I said, take your opinions and put them in your back pocket and put on your operations hat. Nobody cares what you think. We can only care what you can show. So we're not coming in to kill deals. There's two kinds of deal killers out there when it comes to inspection. You have the person who's in and out. They don't look at anything, right? They just do one lap around the house and they hand you an invoice. Then we have someone else who comes in there and they want to talk about how bad everything is to show them how much they know, and they scare away the buyer and they piss off the seller. Our job is simply to go in there and put a report together, which we can then go over later about the findings that we had. But again, we're not looking to say how good, how bad, how expensive, or how cheap something is to fix. We're just pointing out that there is an issue. All right, so certified versus licensed, we talked about this earlier, and California is one of the very few that you don't have to have any kind of licensing to be a home inspector. All the dark blue states are places you have to go ahead and get a license through the state to do property inspection. Light blue are the states you do not have to. It really blows my mind that California is unregulated, considering how our laws are run here. I'm a fisherman, so every year I have to buy a license to catch a fish. But if I wanted to inspect an $8 million property, I don't need a license of any kind. It really blows my mind. So if you take a look here, you can actually see where things are at. California now, there is a little rumbling that we're going to become regulated, which I hope we do. I'm working for Elite to kind of push away some of the companies that don't care as much and don't carry liability. But as you can see here, there are about half and half here when it comes down to who has regulation, who does not have regulation when it comes down to home inspection. Over here on your left side, this is just a small list of some of the classes that you have to take in order to go ahead and pass your INTRNACHI class. INTRNACHI stands for International Association of Certified Home Inspectors, and anyone who works for Elite has to go through the academy. And that's just a little idea of what the technical requirements look like on the coursework. There's over 100 different certifications you can get. You need a minimum of 26 to go ahead and work on condos with Elite. So again, being an unregulated state, we still make sure that every step of the way, we're doing everything we can to improve not only the overall inspection industry, but to make sure that ourselves, we're doing what we can to filter out people who are going to go ahead and not have the same ideals we do.
Dustin, can I make you a question?
Yes.
On the slide before, that we were talking about the repairs and things like that, that of course you don't give what I'm saying is, for instance, plumbing or whatever, you guys say hire a plumber, a licensed plumber to do the work or air conditioning or whatever, okay? But I told you here that at the beginning that you guys have a program that you can give an estimate of cost of repairs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called a repair pricer.
Okay.
And we're covering here in a little bit, but yeah, basically what it is a secondary report that is put together by a third-party company that based on the home zip code, the age of the home, and the report that we use to then give you the estimated cost to fix the problems that we found.
All right.
And the cost that they get them from has to be licensed and bonded companies within a certain mile radius of the home. And we'll cover that as well. Yeah. So we personally can't go ahead and give you guys any direct response because it would be a conflict of interest. So if you need referrals, I can give you referrals, but we don't work with anybody one-on-one about fixing anything in the home just because it would be a conflict of interest for us.
Okay.
All right. There's the US again. So keep moving here. Okay. So here comes another point of where I'm really happy to be with Elite. So this is just an example of some of the certifications that our inspectors have to have. So master inspector basically means that you are so good at INTRNACHI and you've done so well and you've had no complaints, you can now teach the program. So we have a main office out in Rancho Cucamonga where we actually fly in inspectors from around the country to go ahead and we teach them. We become their teachers to get them certified before we send them back out to their companies. We do the same thing with their marketing reps. I've got someone coming from Colorado next week to shadow me for a week. So again, it isn't just about going ahead and being the biggest or the best, but it's about actually putting back in the community of inspection to ensure as a whole we can bring the inspection industry up so that it's going to be clear and concise along the way. Our car certification. So that's actually through the website of CAR. Over here we have our memberships. That's basically for commercial. Then we go ahead and we have Haley Drew. She's actually one of our newest. She finished the 120-hour course that you had to finish in order to go ahead and get past the condo phase. more commercial representatives, and our sewer scope. In order to go ahead and run sewer scopes, you have to go through a safety and a test in order to go ahead and be considered a sewer scope specialist. And these are all good things that if you pick any of these up along the way, feel free to ask your current company that you're using or the company you've always gone to. Hey, what certifications do you guys have? Hey, what do you guys train on? To me, this is the biggest one. What kind of insurance do you have? So we have $1 million of E&O insurance and $1 million of workers' comp insurance. Every Sunday, I get 7 to 8 deals sent to me from investment clients, and I have to send out my E&O insurance because whoever is funding their project wants to know we're insured if we walk onto their property. The E&O insurance is good for $1 million. If you guys ever need a copy, let me know. This is a great way also to vet other companies. Ask them, do you have insurance ABC inspection? Of course I do. Can you send me a copy? Any legitimate company should not have an issue because this is like a golden ticket for us. I want to show you what I have. I'm not afraid if you ask for it. I want you to know that I'm insured. I want you to try to earn your trust. So this is a great thing to do when you have other companies go, hey, I'm new to inspection. Why don't you guys give me a shot? Oh, what's your insurance like? Because remember, in California, since it's unregulated, they don't have to carry insurance. If they don't have insurance, you could be the person paying $57,400. So these are little things that you want to go ahead and check. And again, that's why this class isn't about just trying to get you guys all to use Elite. It's trying to get you to understand that out there are companies who are not going to leave you protected when it comes to the liabilities of home inspection. Speaking of that, 2019, about 78% of all real estate transactions when a lawsuit was happening were due to the expectations not being met on the inspection side. So people would go ahead and they'd have an inspection done and they would think, okay, well, you guys said there was a bad roof, but you didn't provide me an estimate, or you didn't put me in touch with somebody, or you didn't fix it. And then they try to explain that's not what we do. Well, now that inspection company has to go ahead and go to court and try to show to the jury, hey, the reason that this person's upset is because they wanted more than we offered. And then it's going to come down, well, did we as an inspection company clearly offer what our service was to them? With the Elite group, you and your client will both be signing information that lets you know exactly that it's a visual inspection, the kind of insurance that we carry, the limitations of what we can do, the things that we cannot do. And that's another reason we do these classes as well, is to go ahead so you guys can explain in a more clear manner exactly what they should be expecting. That way you don't have an upset client who wants to go ahead and possibly take you to court because of another problem, but they're looking to pay it off on you. If you're in real estate long enough, you're going to have that one buyer who's going to make a mistake on their end and try to put it on you. I worked at Tom Ferry Coaching. I'm not sure if you guys know who that is. I worked at Tom Ferry Coaching for a few years, and I can't tell you how many times I had crying agents on the phone from all over the country saying they needed help, and they were in lawsuits. There were tons and tons and tons of lawsuits, and it was almost always with the buyer suing them because an expectation wasn't met. Not always inspection, but just in general. So one of the greatest things I can ever share is I would say, get used to having uncomfortable conversations about the limitation or even the spectrum of inspection. The more you have it, the easier it comes. It's so much easier to kick over a molehill than to try to walk through a mountain. Just make sure everyone's on the same plateau, the same stage, and clarity really will lead you to an easier transaction. That way they can ask the questions up front that we can answer for you. All right, so who should be present at a home inspection? Buyer. Who else? Any other answers?
As for my ferry, the buyers.
The buyers. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Buyers, sellers, friends, family?
I mean, agents can be there. Yeah,
Agents?
if I was the agent for the buyer, I would want to be there too.
Okay. You're all right. There's not a wrong answer here. Are you going to tell somebody who's going to buy a house who can and cannot be there? Of course you're not going to do that. So when it comes to our point of view as inspectors, this is the kind of way we look at it. Good is going to be the buyer and the agent and the inspector. Like that's perfect to us, right? We'll go ahead and it's just going to be the three of us. We're getting there and get it done. Better is if the inspector can have the house to themselves for a little bit. So maybe you come and you meet us at the beginning of the inspection, then you come back at the end of the inspection. We can do a driveway talk, kind of give you a little clarity and move on. Best would be if we could have the house to ourselves. And the reason that is as we walk through the property, we're building the report at the same time. So if we go and we're building the report and someone keeps butting in or asking us questions, we could miss something. The quality of the report could be compromised. And it's not because we don't want to talk with them and we're a bunch of mean people. It's because we want to make sure we give all of our attention to it. If you take your car to get fixed and the mechanic's under the hood, you guys walk up next to the mechanic and bend over next to him and go, hey, what's going on over here? What's that? What are you doing? Of course not. You want him to fix your car. You want all the attention there. Same with inspection. It's a little more in person, so it makes it a little harder to think that route, but realistically, it's going to give you the best product. Yes.
How does the inspector deal with influence on, like on the spot?
There's deflected. I mean, again, if anything, we're coming down to say basically our job's here to go ahead and give you the status of the house. Once this report's finished, we can have a conversation, we can have lunch, we can FaceTime, whatever you'd like to go over my findings. But until I'm done with this entire report, I really can't give you information back. That's what they're instructed to do. They should all, if you ever hear anybody get anything outside that, let me know, I'll take care of it. But realistically, the idea here is to kind of deflect. When they're ready for a conversation, since you want clarity to be the focal point, we want everyone to have that report in front of them. So that's why at the end of our driveway talk, we always do the buyers going, okay, tell me, what'd you find? It's like, well, that's what this report's for, right? That's what we got this report for you. So here's a few things, maybe this, maybe that, whatever. But when you get my report, on the front of my report, it's going to say my name, my email, and my phone number. We can set up a secondary conversation. Like I said, it could be a lunch, it could be a phone call, a FaceTime, a text thread, whatever you want. We're not done with you just because the inspection's done, but once the report's in hand is when we can dive in it together and go over the findings. One of the running jokes you always have is for the new buyers, we get the new balance dad. And the new balance dad is the one, usually it's going to be kids, 30 and younger. We see him get out of his car, we see that white New Balance hit the ground with the tucked in jean. He's got a flashlight on one side, he's got a tape measure on the other. And we know that dad's going to tell us how to be inspectors. He's going to tell us how to do our job. We understand that it's going to happen. So again, we have a lot of experience with having to deflect people at the time of inspection in order to let them know, hey, the product you paid for is the one we want to discuss, not the part of that was getting done. Like you'd never want to go up to a chef while he's cooking your food and start putting your finger. Doesn't feel like it's done yet. He's like, yes, it's not done yet. I'm still making it. So it's kind of the same idea. The report is still being made before we can go ahead and discuss it at length. Let's make sure we both have a copy of it in front of us. Also on our reports, the second page of it, it's going to be all the things that we found that were defective. In red, it's going to show the page number and the paragraph number. So if you were to call and say, hey, we have a question about the roof, we can say, okay, let's go to page 60, paragraph 2. We can all look at it together. Again, having clarity be the focal point. Last thing we want to do is you as agents have to go ahead and read our report to your client. If there's questions, let us go ahead and do it. Any questions about that? Yes.
Regarding the roof, because I noticed you guys said that you have a roof certification.
Yes.
Okay. So if we have something on the roof, you guys be able to certify that?
So it depends. So the roof certification is separate. So you do get a roof warranty with us when we do regular inspection. We have 2 different plans, which we'll go over here shortly. If you want a roof certification, that's a separate entity, and that's anywhere from 2 to 6 years. It's also 100% transferable. So let's say you bought a 6-year and the family moves out 3 years later, the next family to move in gets the remaining 3 years. In order to get that roof certified, we may have to do work on it. If we have to do work on it, then the cost of the certification goes towards the cost of the repairs.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oop. There we go. All right, so this is one of my favorite slides too. This really is going to go ahead and help you somewhat be able to set the best actual expectations. So when it comes to choices, for some reason in the real estate industry, people have always thought that if you give a minimum of 3 home inspection companies, you have no liability. Like I gave them 3 options, I've done everything I can. That's never been the truth. You could give them 300 options. The bottom line is if you are an agent, anytime that you go ahead and you match up your clientele with somebody else, you are the conduit. You still carry the liability. It could be something as simple as a handyman. Hey, I have a handyman who will fix that back fence for you. He goes out to fix the fence and he burns it down for some reason. That's on you, because if that handyman doesn't want to step up, you are the person who brought them into the transaction. So this is one of the best ways to really limit yourself when it comes to liability. When it comes to inspection time, you want to send an email. The email is going to say, dear buyer, we're getting close to inspection time. Here are a few companies I work with, and then list your companies, whatever information. But then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and write this in the email as well. Although these are the 3 inspection companies I work with, I strongly recommend you go online and look up any other professional home inspection company in California. Then you ask an open-ended question. By the way, are you meeting with your landscape specialist on Tuesday or Wednesday? No, they're not going to meet with their landscaping specialist. What you want is then to send an email back saying, okay, I'll review the material. By the way, I'm not meeting with my landscape person. I'm not sure why you thought that. Okay, sorry, my mistake. Print the email out and keep it. Because if they decide to go with one of the choices you gave them, and then you end up going to court, and then the buyer goes and says, hey, Your Honor, the only reason that this company got involved in the inspection is because my agent told me about them. Then the judge will ask you, is that true? You can say, that is true. However, I have an email showing I sent them and recommended they did some research on their own. I asked them a question, they responded to the question, which is proof that they read the email. Your liability will be gone. So really go ahead and take a picture if you can of this or write it down in some form. It's a great thing to do. I probably get 2 texts a month from people who tell me, hey, they tried to go ahead and say, they didn't go with you, Dustin, they went with someone else, there was an issue, but I had that email where they responded to the idea that I told them to do some research on their own. Little things like that will save your liability. And the reason that I bring these things up is because, again, in the state of California, since we're unregulated, you guys probably didn't know some of this stuff. I guarantee the buyers don't know this, but the courts do. So we need to go ahead and make sure we're going ahead and keeping ourselves in a cocoon away from being litigated against as much as possible. Another big red flag you want to watch out for is cost. If you ever go ahead and talk with somebody who says, I'll inspect any property for X amount of dollars, watch out. It doesn't make sense. Think about it this way. If you had an 8,000 square foot house or an 800 square foot apartment, and you wanted someone to come clean it, and they said, I'll clean either one for the same amount of money, how would you feel? I'm going to assume the laughter means you wouldn't feel good about it.
Yeah.
Of course not. The amount of work it's going to take to clean 8,000 square feet versus 800, the price should be subjective, but it's not. So when you see the flat rate, always watch out for that. For us, our prices start off at $419 for the first 1,500 square feet, and they go up from there. But everything we do is based on square footage. And on average, it's about an hour per 1,000 square feet. But again, the idea here that they would say flat rate price, I mean, think about it. And what product does that work? There aren't a lot of things out there where they have one price for no matter what you get, and it's a good product. So again, watch out for that. Timing, again, for every 1,000 square feet, it should be about an hour. This is something else too, look back at some of your other reports. If you've had somebody that you brought into an inspection that you weren't happy with the results, how long were they there? Because a lot of guys are going to just walk through. So again, since there's no regulation, they're making a report up for you. They don't have to go by any kind of standard. But we have learned it's about 1,000 square feet per hour of work is exactly what we're seeing usually. Also, all of our reports are delivered within 24 hours, usually before then. So that's another thing you want to ask these companies. When do your reports come back? When can I expect your report back? Our reports are back within 24 hours, quite often well before that as well. Any questions about that? All right. All right. So here are some of the things about during the inspection that we can go ahead and kind of run through. So the meet and greet. So when you first get there, our inspector is going to come up, introduce himself or herself to you and your client. Hello, how are you? Have a little talk. And then they're going to go ahead and hand them one of these, which is going to have some information in here about the inspection itself. But on the back, we have all of these blank lines. These blank lines are meant for questions. And we purposely did it that way. So if your buyer or seller are going to stay at the actual inspection versus them walking around and asking us questions and taking us off task, they can write all their questions here and we can answer these questions before we leave the property. So they're going to get a little bit of information to read, and they're also going to have a physical, tangible piece of information to go ahead and have questions answered on. You're also going to receive a home maintenance manual. This is actually really nice. It's glossy, it's beautiful. Basically, it would give them, from an inspector's point of view, how they can go ahead and take care of their home in order to go ahead and ensure that it's going to last for the longest way. And pass that around if you can look at it. Again, so these are things that they're going to get right when we get there. The questions, the holding till the end, we know is tough. But again, if we can go ahead and really use that particular folder to let your clients know, hey, they're going to do a few things. Any questions right in here? Because post-inspection, they're going to answer those questions for you. The reason here too we hold questions is because a lot of times people ask us questions and we haven't looked at the property yet. They go, what do you think about the chimney? I'm like, I haven't been inside the house yet. I don't know what to tell you. So it's easier to go ahead and do this at the end of it. We've had a chance to look at it. We can offer some actual information back. Stick around for the summary. To me, that's a no-brainer. I don't think we have a lot of problems with that. But again, at the end of it, we will do a driveway talk. All my inspectors are instructed to give a 10 to 15-minute chat at the end of the inspection, just to give you a basic idea of where things are at, answer questions, talk about setting up a secondary meeting post-inspection to go over the report, maybe questions about our warranties or the tools that we use, whatever it may be. We will have that summary talk at the end. This one here, I can't say this enough. Please read the report. Every single week I get, and some people that use me every week will call me, Dustin, your guy missed this. I can't believe you guys missed this. It's not what you guys do. I look at the report and it's the third thing on the report. I'm like, well, did you read the report? Well, no, but my buyer's upset. Well, did your buyer read the report? No. Well, you got to read the report because it's in the report. So please read the report. I know it's boring, and I mean, they average, 60, 80 pages sometimes. I get it, but we have to think about this. For you guys, it's just another cell maybe, but this is someone's, next 30 years. So if they're going to go ahead and they're going to use someone like Elite, and they're gonna go for a better service, well, the report is really where the juice is at. So they need to go ahead and read the report. And you as an agent, I really think it's better for you to read the report too, so you can answer some questions as well and probably get a little educated about the inspection process in general. And then finally, to get clarification, we can always go ahead and set up that secondary meeting. As we go through our report, we take a lot of pictures. So it's not just gonna be a bunch of pages of writing saying this is broken, this is how. We'll take pictures of it and explain our findings. So we really can go ahead and make sure that clarifications offered across the board, but I really would implore you to go ahead and set that secondary meeting up with your inspector post-inspection, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. All right, so in order for us to go ahead and carry that $1 million policy of E&O insurance, by the way, yes.
Excuse me, the secondary inspection that you mentioned, are that included in the same price or is a different?
Wait, I'm sorry?
The secondary inspection?
Oh, no, so the secondary, the conversation you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
The end, the end.
the second,
no, I'm talking, I'm sorry, I do, yeah, I was thinking something different. Sometimes you give that report and they give a list of,
yeah, that's in there.
okay, fantastic, so we review. My point is, what if the buyer says, oh, okay, I want to be sure that they did a repair that they promised they're gonna do, that's the owner,
Okay.
with the company will come and check on that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes,
That's what I'm talking
yes,
about.
yes. Yeah, so what you can do is use our report, then you go ahead and like, let's say that the seller would then hire someone to come in and fix
Correct,
everything.
correct, correct.
We would then come back in and go ahead and take a look to see if it's all clear. Yeah, yeah. It would be a $99 fee for someone to have just check what they've done.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, correct. So also in order to carry that $1 million E&O insurance, errors and omission insurance, it means I cannot go ahead and move items in the house. It doesn't cover personal items. And if I go to a house and let's say I can't get to the water heater because there's too many pieces of personal items in the way, I won't inspect it. And if you want me to come out to re-inspect it, it's $200 to me come back out. So you need to do this when you're doing your Avid. You want to make sure if you see these things, you let the selling side know or talk to the seller. Or if you're doing a pre-inspection or a selling inspection, you talk to your seller or you go ahead and take care of this. These are all actual pictures of things we've had to go and do incomplete inspections. So for example, here in this kid's playroom, I can't move any of the stuff to get to that window. So that window doesn't get inspected. Attic is probably the biggest one we're having right now. Attic, the two things, the problem is one, if the attic entry is in the hallway closet and that hallway closet has things inside of it, I can't move those things. What if it's like grandma's wedding dress and I tear it with the tape measure? Or I put my foot through, your third graders, picture of you from 1972. I don't know. There's so many things that I can't replace. So if I go and I open up the closet and I see that, I'm going to say, unless all this is moved, I can't inspect your attic. It's going to be an incomplete inspection. Or if the attic is painted shut, I can't break painted surfaces either. That's going to have to happen. Here you can actually see we couldn't go ahead and get to the main box because they had this vacuum hanging here on some weird apparatus. So I couldn't get to the fuse box. Under sinks is a big one. If there's a few items there, like a cleaning bottle of your Windex or whatnot, sure, that's not a big deal. But if it's like that, absolutely not. I cannot have my inspectors touching unknown chemicals, pulling them out. What if they spill them onto this brand new carpet you just bought? There's just too much liability. So I can't inspect that. Water heater, that's our number two. Water heaters, the problem is usually there's going to be personal items by them or a car parked too close that I can't get around the water heater. And then the foundation. If they've got a bunch of junk outside and I can't see the foundation around the house, I'm not going to be able to check that either. So these are things that you want to keep an eye on when you're doing your Avid. Also, a little tip here with your Avid, don't do it the same day as the home inspection. I know a lot of agents want to do the two birds, one stone idea. Well, they're going to be there, I'll be there, let's get it knocked out on the way. Because we do a visual inspection and because the Avid's a visual inspection, if our reports don't look somewhat similar, the case can be made that you as an agent did not do your due diligence. So what you want to do is try to do it well before the inspection, at least the day before. If you have to do your Avid the same day as a home inspection, then what you need to do is on your forms, it'll say in and out. You write in and out on those forms, you take a picture and you timestamp it. You do not want to go ahead and do your Avid the same day because again, if litigation comes, they're going to look at both of our reports and wonder why you missed so many things that we saw because we're considered a visual inspection. You have to understand as an agent, your litigation or your liability is wide open. So you have to make sure you cut all the parts out of it that you can. Obviously, you can never 100% not be liable for something. That's just a business that we live in. But you can definitely cut down some of the smaller parts to limit how big of a target you can become. Any questions? Yes.
So in that picture of the attic, you're saying you're not going to be able to go up there because of stuff on the side?
Because the closet's full of things. I got to put a ladder down. I got to climb up. If I go up and I hook one of these items on a tape measure or something and I rip it, now I'd be liable to replace it. So that would have to be a complete. That closet would have to be empty for me to get into it.
How can we protect ourselves? And this, I see done so many times. Foundation, all the garbage, heater, and you guys cannot have access to that. We as an agent. How
So
can we protect ourselves?
it would depend which side you're on. If you're on the selling side, then you got to move it. That's on you as a seller. If you want to go ahead and make sure, hey, before I put my house on the market, I'm going to do a pre-sale or whatever it's going to be, then you got to move those things. If you're on the buying side, you need to speak with the selling side. And you need to send them an email, something in writing. You've asked them, will you please go ahead and make sure that the foundation is clear? I noticed there was a large pile of junk on the north side of the house. The inspector's not going to be able to go ahead and see the foundation. I need you to move that away from the property.
Okay. As an agent, I won't moving things like you agents do. So I just tell Oscar, he's the owner. Oscar, he doesn't do anything. We close the deal and then we got boom, foundation problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So with us right here, we would take a picture. Like I said, these are from our reports. I would take a picture of this and I couldn't take the foundation. And then if you guys decide not to go ahead and have it moved out and have me come back out again, and there's a foundation problem, you have no way to go ahead and come after us because I've already put it in the report. I wasn't able to conduct my inspection because of personal items. I requested they removed. They were never moved. I was arrested to come out again. So you don't get to use our warranties then. In order for our warranties to be enacted, we have to be able to go ahead and see everything we can see. And that's all in the paperwork that's signed prior to the inspection between you and your client. We send you out a confirmation email outlining all this.
Okay. So how do your insurance works on that situation? For instance, you go under the house, inspector, and checking everything to be fine. And then later on appears foundation problem, whatever. And then you say, but you guys didn't show anything on the report. It says everything is fine, but now he see these cracks over here or whatever, any damage.
Yeah, it would depend on the amount of time from the time that person felt that there was an issue with the house. So if we go to the house and we see no issues at all, we've got pictures and everything, and within 90 days there's an issue, we would help out. But if it's a year later or 2 years later, absolutely not.
Okay.
They'd be outside of it. Yeah. Yeah. So there are limitations of how far the warranty will go. Because everything that we do is based on the house at the time we were there.
Right.
It's just like you're Avid, right? So if you're Avid, if you go and you go to the living room and there's no issues, and then a month later they go, oh my gosh, we have this massive water stain in our ceiling, you can go, well, I'm sorry, but at the time I Avid, this wasn't present, and you'd be covered.
Okay.
So yeah, it's gonna be based on the amount of time that slides. And that's why we do have warranties. So in our basic package, you get 90 days. And then in our plus package, you can get it for like 5 years on the roof. So there's really a couple different avenues you can go down for those warranties, of which we'll go ahead and step in and help out. Great question. This is COVID. I mean, right now it's kind of in limbo, but if you have somebody who either is definitely scared of COVID and it's a big issue, let us know and I'll make sure all this is taken care of. You have gloves, booties, masks, 6 feet away. We're going to make sure that we have all the hand sanitizers needed, whatever is going to go ahead and make them feel better. And then also, if it ever flares up like it once did, obviously this is the practice that we used during COVID. We were considered essential workers, so we never had to shut down, thank goodness. But if you have somebody who's concerned about it, let us know. Again, this comes back to the idea, the more I know about what your client wants, the more I can go ahead and really make it a special package just for them. If they want somebody that speaks a certain language or a certain gender, or they're COVID scared, or there's a part of the house they're worried about, let me know so we can go ahead and really make them feel like they're not just a number on the board, that this is something we care about too. This is a big decision and we understand that. All right, these are things, definitely take a picture of this. These are things that we do not inspect. This is listed again in the information that your client will sign before they go ahead and get an inspection with us. But as we all know, people don't read very often. I mean, I'm guessing everyone in here has an iPhone. And when you get an iPhone and it says, hey, you want to go ahead and update your software, and all that stuff to read, you just scroll, and then, okay. Yeah, you can say, by the way, you owe us $1 million, and then you get a bill for it, and you realize, I don't owe you $1 million, they put the contract, well, you clicked okay, you owe us $1 million. So it's the same thing as people, because they don't know what we do, they think we do everything. We do not test water quality. We do not test for asbestos. We don't do lead and paint. We don't do septic. We don't do anything with low flow fixtures. So low flow fixtures, we've seen a lot of those. Basically, it's more toilets than anything, so it's supposed to use less water. Sometimes people will go ahead and want us to give them feedback on how well that's running. We don't operate in that brand. That would be somebody, you know, plumber out or someone that's going to be specifically in that genre. We're just looking to make sure that it's not loose and it doesn't leak and it doesn't back flush. We're looking for the operation of it as far as what it's supposed to do, not the specialty that you purchased. So these are things that we want to go ahead and let our clients know. Also, when it comes to pools and spas, we cannot look at salt baskets. So if you have a salt pool, there's a salt basket that will go ahead and release so much salt to make the water have that salty feel or taste, I guess, you drink it. Either way, the salt baskets are all done by manufacturer. So each manufacturer has a different way they want their salt baskets to be checked and inspected. So if it's a salt basket, we cannot inspect it. However, if you need anything of these done, let me know. I do have referrals that can take care of all this. So you just have to call me or send me a text, let me know the city, let me know what you're looking for, and I get a referral back out to you pretty quickly.
I have a question to ask you.
Yes.
How many inspections do you do where you run into solar panels being on the road? And-
Probably 35%, right around there. Yeah. And we don't inspect solar either. Yeah. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, solar is actually leased. So that's one of the biggest problems that we have. But we just aren't certified to do anything with solar. So, and that's also written in our bylaws too. So like when you're agent, or when your buyer or seller's asking. Yeah. And again, if you guys have any, that's a great question. Thank you. If you have any questions about those kind of one-offs, let me know too, because there are different houses that have different things. Like out in Wildemar, they're building all those smart houses now, and they're all solar roofs.
They have to get solar.
Oh yeah,
Mandatory.
it's
Well, I used to be, you know, I used to work for a city, so I used to handle the solar program.
okay.
And some of the things that the customers, especially the ones that were buying it, they would call and they said, you know, they wanted to know the performance. I said, well, you would have to ask the person that you're buying, the seller, to give you copies of the bills, and you could see how they're performing. If they're being steady, then that's fine. But, you know, I recommend that you should get them clean at least once a year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Don't go on the roof yourself.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, with those kinds of things, again, there's little one-offs that's a little more difficult. Also with like fountains, if someone has like a really large yard and it's got like a big fountain in it, I mean, there's only so much I can do with a fountain. There's a ton I can do on that as well. So we'll look at it like almost as a professional courtesy. But even if the fountain's in perfect condition, we're still going to recommend a plumber takes a look because we don't know exactly what that fountain needs. So we never want to go ahead and take the liability on saying, oh, your fountain in the front's perfect, and maybe there's a huge problem that we just don't know about.
Do you charge extra for pools and spa?
Yes, we do. It's $99 in addition to whatever the cost was for the square footage.
So combination $99 or for each?
No, combination. So if it's one spa, 99, one pool, 99, a spa and a pool, 99. Yeah, yes.
How about septic tanks?
So we can't go ahead and do that ourselves, but I do have referrals I can help you out with.
Do you know how much it costs to repair that?
I do not. I think the guy that I use, it depends on how far he has to go because he's based out in like the Victorville area. That's where I see most of my septic. But yeah, but again, I can give you the numbers and you know, help you reach out with them if you want. Whatever's going to go and help you out and bring some value.
Nothing, now that you mentioned about the solar, you know, Victorville, these areas, every single, most of the new single homes, every single one have a solar panel.
Yeah.
So during the home inspection, so you guys, I mean, you can claim on the roof, but it's all covered with the thing, so I'm kind of thinking about it. How do you guys gonna do the inspection if the panels?
So if there's solar panels or if there's even tile roofs, I won't walk it anyways. So what I can do is either you can pay $75 to have a drone, we can get drone footage shot for you, or part of the regular inspection, we're actually going to put ladders on the roof. We're going to climb up, we're going to use our thermal gun, which I'll show you here in a minute. We're also going to take pictures with high digital cameras. So we can still go ahead and give you a warranty on the roof, even though we have solar panels and we can't walk it. Because the biggest part of a roof to give us the story is actually the attic.
Okay.
Yeah, so if there's ever been any kind of rain or if there's any kind of leak, it'll stay in the attic and the wood will rot pretty quickly, so we can actually see. So if we're on the roof, I mean, chances are we're not going to see a hole, right?
Right,
And if we
right.
do, you should know about the hole before we found it. But if there's leakage, the actual attic gives us the whole story of what happened.
That's a good point. There you go.
Yeah. Good questions, guys. I love it. All right.
So far as winning the first place, okay? Because I'm not looking at the question.
So
No,
again,
I'm interested.
kind of going back to your Avid again, just make sure you don't do it the same day. And there is actually a spot that says in and out. So just make sure you do that. Make sure when you go ahead, if you have to do your Avid the same day. In general, you should be doing this. Your broker, I'm sure, has you guys doing it anyways. but it's actually on the form to go ahead and put there the time that you were in, the time you were out, just for the actual avid itself. This can save you a hand over fist when it comes to time and money. So just make sure you get in the habit of doing that.
Justin,
Yes.
on that report.
Hold on,
sorry
hold on.
about
No problem.
that. I'm gonna pick your brain because I know you have a good brain.
Well, we'll find out.
I go to the house, to do that and see this room, for instance. Nothing to disclose. So what,
Nothing noted.
nothing noted.
Nothing noted. Nothing noted. Yeah, because see, here's one of the biggest things when it comes to Avid that agents make the mistake is they come into a room and there's no problems. So they're like, well, I want to show I was here. Projector noted.
Yeah.
Well, now you know what you've done is now you've started inventory.
Correct.
So every room you go in now, you need to let me know what's in that room. You've set a standard that's not realistic. So if you come into a room and things look fine, you just put nothing noted. Nothing noted. Yeah.
What about if it's different? It's a piece of junk house,
Well, then you gotta know. Well, then you gotta know what you find, right?
And
Yeah.
carpet is bad.
Well, carpet-
A lot.
Well, carpet. You should actually never put carpet in it. Carpet's not should be part of your Avid. Yeah, because it's anything basically that affects the value of the home. Carpets is like a wear and tear item. Stuff. Those are wear and tear items. Yeah. So usually it would be things like if there was a spot on the ceiling. You would know, like, for example, if you saw a large spot on the ceiling right now, it was, there you go, that
Okay.
spot. So like, what I would say is spot noted on roof in
Okay.
corner. Done.
Done.
I don't want to say what it is because I don't know. If I say it's a water stain, what if it's a dead animal that's become liquefied? Or what if it's somebody stored cooking oil up there and tipped over? You don't know that. So I don't want to say what it is. Also, when it comes to size, doesn't it, I mean, what's big to you, what's large to me, what's small to you, what's medium? You don't know. You don't know. So only thing you want to do is stay noted left corner.
So if I see that damaged carpet or whatever, so
I mean, run it by your broker, but to me, that's always been considered a wear and tear item.
we're.
Because
Give
chances
a
are-
broker, yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
broken when I need it, eh?
Yeah, he heard you. Yeah, I heard it right down here. Yeah.
Peter, stay noted.
Stay notice.
Oh, wait a minute, you said, yeah.
We're gonna add it. Stay noted.
What's the reason why you said not to complete Avid on the same day of inspection?
Because it's an Avid, so it's a visual inspection that we're doing, and your Avid is a visual inspection. So if we go and our reports are dramatically different, a case could be made that you as the agent didn't do your due diligence. Because we're not moving pictures either, are you? So for example, if I put stay noted on my report and it's not on your report and there becomes an issue, the first thing the buyer can say, well, obviously the agent didn't do their job because you can see the inspector saw a spot on the roof, but they didn't see a spot on the roof, and they're both considered visual inspections. Yes,
So would that Avid be prior to the inspection or?
always,
Oh.
always. Avid before inspection, all the time. There's never a reason you shouldn't do it. It's gonna just save you so much. Because the thing, your Avid can be amended for one, but also your Avid based on your licensing as a real estate agent is very vanilla. You aren't expected to find all these great big problems, but you are expected to find spots, or if you saw an active dripping leak. But if you go by and you don't see a problem with any of the plumbing, you don't have to make something up. Now, if there's a leak behind the wall that you couldn't see, your Avid doesn't expect you to find that.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Great questions, guys. This is awesome. All right. So here's another thing where we do not diagnose. Now, I know I said a lot of the same stuff by different ways, but that's unfortunately, I'm hoping that one of these ways catches on that either is going to make you think about a time you've said it wrong, a time you can say it better, or in the future, if you hear your buyer or client bring up something, you know how to address it to keep your liability small. So again, we do not diagnose, no adjectives, no numbers, general disclosure. So for example, if I saw this crack in the foundation, I would say, crack noted on foundation, left side of property, recommended foundation, comes and takes a further look. That's what they would get from an inspection company. We're not going to go ahead and say, estimated cost is this, estimated reason is this, where the next crack may come from is this. We're not going to get into that game. Okay, here's a fun game for me. What do you guys see here? Who's yelling at? Who said that?
Me.
Uh-oh. Mold?
I'm not-
Are you a botanist too?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Never mind. I know you're a botanist. Yes. We never want to go ahead and say mold because we don't know. Because here's the deal. If you say mold, I now go ahead and have my house cleaned for mold and it's $7 grand. I thought I never had mold. I want my $7 grand from you because I did something I wouldn't have done. Remember, you guys are leaders in this transaction, right? So for us, what we would say there is we could say dark staining. We could even say something like organic growth. The idea is that we're not labeling because I don't know. Is that mold or mildew? I'm not sure, and I won't know unless you want to get it tested. But in my report, I will say dark spotting or organic growth. So again, these are the kinds of things you really want to limit our
You
liability.
just put those two items, what did you say you would put on your report?
Either dark spots or organic growth.
But you don't put, recommend something.
Yeah, recommended looked at by a specialist, exactly.
I
Environmental.
used to do inspections. I won't go into detail,
Okay.
but I'll tell you.
Okay, so that's one of the things is we find a lot of people will go ahead and they're saying, oh, that's mold or that isn't mold. Well, now you've gone ahead and taken off your real estate hat and putting on your botanist hat. And you don't want to do that because now you put yourself as an expert and you don't know exactly what it is. So you want to keep it super vanilla. Same thing we would do. Like I said, hey, definitely in the corner, we notice those dark spots, could be organic growth. I'm not sure what it is. We recommend you get it tested. That's it. My liability is done. I'm not going to go ahead and tell them what it is because I don't know. Right here, this is an example of poor draining on a home. So all homes should actually have a very, very small or light grade away from the house so that water always drains away from the house. Two reasons. One is obviously weather, and two is potential leaks. Most pipes that are going to leak are on the outside of the house that have the most pressure. They're going to, if they explode, you want them to push away from the house itself. So if we were to see something like that, we would notate, bad drainage left side of house. We're not going to talk about exactly what it is. We're just going to say we see the standing water. We're not exactly sure what's happening. There could be a vent under there or a drain under there rather that's plugged. There could be a broken septic line. We don't know. We're going to list though that there's definitely a huge issue with the standing water. And then they can see things that are so simple, like this is just a trip hazard. But again, that's something, if somebody goes in this house and they trip up their walkway and they get hurt and we just did an inspection and didn't mention it, we have liability. So this really is a great example of a lot of times when home buyers get that report and they see a bunch of red line items and they freak out. Oh my God, there's 17 things wrong with my house. Yeah, but some of these things can be very small, but have to be listed because of liability. So for us, again, this just shows if we can start getting the idea that there are probably going to be some defects found, we want to disarm our clients from being upset about it. The average home in 2018, the average home report nationwide had 12 defects found. That's on average. So that means many had more, many had less. But chances are it's going to happen. One of the things I always say to prep buyers is just remember, we are imperfect creatures that make imperfect products. So there's probably going to be a chance we find something that's wrong with the home. Doesn't mean the home's worthless, just might need a little bit of love. Either you can go ahead and take off the price or negotiate this or find out what it's going to be. But again, we're not here to go ahead and sway one way or the other, but just to state the facts as we find them at the time of inspection. I think this next slide actually goes ahead and shows some of the things that so these are actually things that are pulled from the report that some of our inspectors have written. So cracking observed on north basement wall. So you can see there's nothing here about the severity or the size of the issue, nor talking about how we're going to take care of it monetarily. We're just saying what we found. So these next few slides, if your broker agrees with me, should be similar to what your Avid would say. There's nothing in here talking about size or severity. We're just saying that it exists.
I just want to mention that the TDS the AVID is not required by law. Okay, TDS is, but the AVID is required by CBGR. Okay, because of the liability that you mentioned.
That's it.
So I just want to mention that to you. But you have to do it AVID according to our company policy.
Yes.
Both. Both, yeah. Because
No, the TDS no matter what. Yeah,
yeah,
that
TDS
has to
no matter what,
happen.
but
Yeah.
AVID is optional. It's not required by law, but our
Yeah.
company.
But the good advice that Dustin has given to us is that AVID had to be done before the inspection.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's a very good.
That's a good.
Well, because if we kind of rewind back, remember the Avid didn't come around until after Bill 1402 was introduced.
Yes, correct.
So because the Avid was there, the only reason the Avid was there was in order to go ahead and give a little bit of insurance to the agent saying, hey, I've been to the house, this crack was there. So later on, if the buyer goes in, he goes, I bought this house, you never told me about this massive crack in the wall, but you can say it actually was on my Avid before you even closed on it.
Yes.
So that's really what it's about, is you can't be sued for a buyer having remorse. So here's another thing. So here we go back to our mold slide that we were told earlier, right? Our mold or mildew or who knows, right? Irregular staining observed upstairs bedroom. I mean, again, these are the kinds of things that are pulled from our report exactly. So we're not looking to go ahead and scare away the buyer or to get the seller upset, but we do need to state what we've seen when we did the inspection.
Excuse me.
Yes,
So you do one-on-one mold classes?
yes. Yeah, I have mold as well. Yeah, if you guys want me to come back in, just let your team leader know. We can,
Schedule that another.
cool, we can set up the mold one as well.
Together on that.
Yes.
This is good.
For this picture, so wouldn't we say water noted on the side of the building rather than signs of poor drainage? Because how do we know that's drainage?
How do you know it's water?
It looks like water, liquid. We could say liquid.
Liquid, okay. Yeah, you can if you want. You can, if that's what you wanted to do, but we know this property, when it was built, it was never meant to have standing water. So we know it's not draining correctly. No house is built to have water on the sides of it. That's all we're saying. We're saying basically the drainage is not correct. Either there's under here, there could either be a clogged actual drain itself, or the property itself, the house, something's happened where the grading of the home isn't correct because the water's not going away from the property. Every home, the water is supposed to go away from the property and not become standing. If you can see here, it's been some time. This is actually all wood rot, all the way down. The whole bottom was wood rot, like it was soft to the touch. But again, what we're trying to do is go ahead and say, hey, this is what we found where it was at. And we know that this home was not made to have standing water around it. So we know the drainage is the issue. That we feel confident in. Now, the reason it's not draining, that's the one that we leave open. Like I said, it could be a clogged drain or the actual grading of the home could have dissipated over time.
So as an agent, for instance, I should put water notice on the side of the property.
Standing water, yeah, standing water noticed on right side of home or whatever, yeah. Yeah, again, because the thing is here, long as you basically notate that there's standing water, you don't want to get into why.
Correct.
That's what you want. That's the biggest point here, right? Is you don't want to say standing water because of clogged drain. When they come and they clean it up, they go, there's no drain here.
Exactly.
And now you're in trouble on that one, right? Or if you go ahead and say, oh, obviously the house, the grading of the home isn't correct. And we find out that that's not the issue either. So all we want to do is say, hey, here's an issue that needs to be looked at. So for this right here, this would be good for a foundationalist to come in and take a look at, because to us, chances are the house is not actually graded correctly any longer. So they're gonna have to do something with the yard because the water is going to continue to disperse. Also, this could be a sign of a broken pipe, like a sewage line. Chances are it's not, because it's on the side of the house instead of the front, but there could be a house behind it. We're not sure. But again, we just don't want to get behind. We want to notate what we see, but not the reason why.
Right.
And then this is pretty easy here, a trip hazard, right? I mean, I think everybody can agree on that. And this is obviously, you know, a piece of leveled up concrete. I mean, you go to any American a neighborhood, you're going to see the house, and that one house in front of it that has like the now mountain the kids jump their bikes over. Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen over time. Roots get big, things shift. But if we know that possibly someone could get injured, we definitely want to go ahead and put that in our report. And a trip hazard to us here is fine. And we even put possible. I mean, that's really a way to go ahead and cover yourself. Possible. We know it's a trip hazard, but it's possible because not everybody tripped over it. So literally, this is all litigation language we use in our reports, which is very similar to what we think Avid should mirror at times. All right, so a wood deterioration observed. This is one that we will be pretty obvious on. So you can actually see here, this indentation, all that is, that's layers of paint of years and years and years of termite damage that the layers of paint have now actually collapsed in because all the wood's deteriorated away. So for us, that's something we would notate with full confidence. Now, you can see here, we're not giving a reason again, right? We're saying wood deterioration observed at eaves. We're not saying termite damage or water leak or whatever else it may be, but we're saying this would affect the house's value on the open market, therefore it should be listed. That's very much what the Avid's supposed to do, is anything that would take away negatively monetary value from the home. So this would be an easy one for us. All right, so what more can agents really do to go ahead and protect themselves from litigation? Well, one is the property advisory declaration. Hopefully you guys get that filled out. I'm pretty sure it's probably something that you guys signed, basically just giving you permission to go ahead and enter the property. Prior to the inspection, we kind of gone over this. Make sure that all the areas are accessible to us. Can we get to the power panel? Can we get under the sinks? Can we get on the roof? Can we get under the house if possible? Can we view the foundation? Can we get into the attic? Then we want to go down here. All utilities are on. Oh my gosh, once a week I get this call. It's always on the weekend. Hey, Dustin, your guy's here. I'm sorry, but I don't have any gas or water power at that place yet. But can you still do the inspection? I'm like, well, I can inspect if the doors work or not, but that's about the end of it. If I can't run water or run power, how can I check a lot of the parts of the home? So if the utilities aren't on, chances are we're not going to be able to go ahead and do any kind of an inspection at all. So then we go back to that $200 fee to pay on top of what you've already paid to get us to come out another time in order to get you an inspection. And now you've got to tell your clientele to miss another day of work or miss another soccer game so they can come be present at the inspection. Prior to the inspection, please ensure that the clients read the agreement and pay online. Some clients don't want to do that and we can work around it, but technically our insurance is only valid if the inspection is paid for prior to us entering the property. So we can do other ways and go around it if we want. I mean, unfortunately, I've been the one pushing this the most. We're a little more lenient with it, but our insurance states wide open. Our insurance only covers paid for prior to us entering the property. And also when they go online, they're gonna be able to read some information. It's gonna cover a lot of what I've covered today, not as in much detail, but to give them some ideas and to give you guys an idea of exactly what our services will provide you. During the inspection, you've already talked about that. If we can go ahead and just try to give the inspector as much room as possible to make sure that they can do a clear and concise job. After the inspection, we will go ahead and have that little driveway talk, and then hopefully we can set up a secondary meeting. And then also, again, after the inspection, reading your report. Can't get enough of that. Please read the report. And then if possible, we try to limit the amount of people at the home at the time of inspection. The reason is the number is 4. After 4 people, we run into problems. So like in the summer, for example, we're going to turn the AC unit on to make sure the AC unit works, right? Well, then we're going to go and work on part of the house and then someone turns it off. So by the time that we're going to go and check if it's working, we have to let it go and kick back on again. We're going to run the AC and we're going to run the heater. But a lot of times people turn them off for some reason. It happens all the time. So again, if we can go ahead and just kind of limit who's there so we can get the complete inspection done, I think we get a better product. All right, now.
What is the minimum notice, prior notice that you have to get, in order to avoid penalties or in other words, if somebody, if the tenant has some problem,
Yeah.
to be there, or because they have COVID, what kind of time frame you ask for?
I would ask for
Cancellation.
a minimum of 4 hours. A minimum of 4 hours. Because what happens is all the work.
That's reasonable. Yeah. Some people like, you need to at least 24 hours or.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, but that's the company policy is 20, the company policy is 24 hours, but if you deal with me directly, I just waive it.
I see.
It's just not, I mean, these things happen. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna get mad at someone because their kid got sick. Like, that's not really very fair. So we can always figure it out.
Okay.
We can always figure it
That's
out.
fair.
So here's one of the things that is very eye-opening. So going back to California, and obviously we're over legislated in my opinion. Maybe not, you guys will feel the same. But then we're underrepresented. Like for example, home inspection doesn't have any kind of bylaws at all. So in California, even if your buyer decides to waive their inspection, they can actually sue you later on for not getting an inspection. That is California negligent law for competitive negligence. So basically what they can say is basically the way the law breaks down is you as a professional licensed person didn't do enough to show them the importance of an inspection. If they can prove that, even though they waive the inspection, they can still sue you. So just know that even if they waive their inspection, you are not out of the woods. Also, some people think if I waive my inspection, I'm going to save time. They still have to fill out paperwork and sign they don't want an inspection. But in the state of California, you are still going to be liable if it can be proved that they feel that you didn't go ahead and explain to them the importance of inspection. Yes.
Something, when we run about this most investors. They find the property, they want to take advantage of the situation and it close in 5 days, 7 days, whatever. They waive everything, all these questions. Then they still can come back.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. I mean, this is pulled from CAR, this information. So yeah, this is like can happen at any time. And this isn't just for home inspection. I mean, there's a lot of service-laden industries that this can happen to as well. But this is the one obviously that we're focusing on. So even if they go through and they wanted to come back, but again, they're going to have to go to a court. They're going to have to prove that you didn't prove to them or provide them with enough information to know that an inspection was crucial. But you have to remember this: when you and your buyers are one-on-one and they start to get a little angry, they're kind of mean. They kind of can be scary. They can be unreasonable. You put that same person in front of a judge, they're going to walk in with a neck brace. Oh my God, this big mean agent didn't tell me what was going to happen. I'm just a horrible guy. It turns everything, right? So it's all going to be about perception, what can be proved in court. But automatically, when you walk in there, I mean, it's going to be up to you to prove that you did what you should have done because you're licensed and they're not. So it's a little rough there. So just a little word to the wiser and why it's important to know who you work with. All right, so if you do not waive your inspection, basically this goes over all the property, the seller's protection entry upon, the buyer shall. This is all the things that buyers and sellers already do know or think they know at least. But these are a couple of main items right here that really can go ahead and basically say, hey, like the seller is advised to go ahead and certain protections that may be afforded the seller by recording a notice of non-responsibility. So again, there are other things in here you can do to make sure that you've educated your buyers on or your clients on to save yourself to refer to instead of just saying get an inspection. So if they don't want to get an inspection, they actually are open to liability as well, especially on the selling side, which is why we've seen a lot more sellers get pre-inspections now. So states like Tennessee and counties like up in Berkeley, everyone, you have to do an inspection before you sell your house. The seller does. So like in Tennessee, that's what they do. The seller gets the inspection, then after the inspection's done, they can do one of two things. They can either A, have the inspection report available to any open buyer, or B, they can have the inspection report available along with receipts showing they fixed the problems that were found during the inspection. But that's one way that people are going to protect themselves. So like what we saw, this would be the 5th year in a row that California will lose more people than it's gained. So forever we gained. The last 5 years in a row we've lost. So a lot of people who have moved out of state were going to go ahead and use their current properties in California as income. It was going to be rental properties. Well, then we saw the market shoot 23, 24% up. They said, I'm going to cash in now. So they started doing a lot of the pre-inspections. And through the pre-inspections, this is what we've seen a lot of them not knowing their rights as pre-inspection sales. So again, this is our team right here. This picture is a few years old, but you can see, I mean, they went from 2 guys to an entire fleet of people. A lot of people here are actually still related. These are a lot of the family members. It really is a great company. I got to tell you, they've been great to me and my kids. I mean, as a single dad, they've been more than willing to work with my schedule. They've been outstanding. Absolutely love the product. I love who we are. I wouldn't be out here doing this, putting my face on it if I didn't. How do you qualify a home inspection company when you know they're unregulated? We talked about one already, right? Flat rate price, we know that's an issue. If someone's going to go ahead and give you service based on the size of something, then the price should go ahead and reflect that as well. A reputation, this is where you guys are going to have to go ahead and become students of the game. I'm sure everybody in here has at least one friend who's an agent for another brokerage. Ask them about their experiences with home inspection companies. Who do you use? Why do you like them? Why don't you like them? Really use your sphere of influence. Because again, it's unregulated. You can't go online and say, hey, only show me regulated home inspection companies in California, because that doesn't exist. So you have to become a student of the game. You can have to do a little bit of footwork on your own. And then liability. To me, that's probably the one I open up with. Do they have insurance? If they do have insurance, is it current? If it is current, how much is it for? Can you send me a copy? That's the best way to know. Because the bottom line here is, once we get into that house, whether it's elite inspections or ABC inspections, whatever it's going to be, if we go ahead and damage that home, there's no reason you as agents, you have to go ahead and cover that bill. There's no reason. But if we don't have insurance, you will have to cover it. So make sure they have insurance and ask for it. Also 5-star reviews. Just to brag a little bit, Elite, we have over 5,000 5-star reviews and are still growing. And we are the most reviewed inspection company in the country.
And you, not only California, you're nationwide.
So we just started an Idaho branch that just started. And then right now our next branch is opening up in Fresno. So we're probably going to take over California first and then expand east. But yeah, as of right now, so we actually deal anywhere from Ventura County, even Bakersfield, all the way down to the Mexican border 7 days a week currently. So we're looking to expand that. So again, home inspection. This is one I actually just put up here to take a picture. I think to me, this is a good little text you can send to possible people who want to use us when they go, what do they check? And we all go, well, it's a house. They go, what parts of the house? And we go, the whole house. Like, what does that mean? So we had to make this: interior, exterior, windows, doors, HVAC, basement, crawl space, fireplace, roof, attic, electrical, plumbing, which is just a list of what a house encompasses, right? But again, we want to make sure that we're able to go ahead and set those standards. Because what if they think in their mind, like I said, that person who called about the tree, they think we're going to look at the vegetation on the land, or they think we're going to go ahead and look at particular parts of the sculpture that has water coming out of it. Those aren't things that we cover. These are the things that are covered on every single inspection. All right, so just to give you more of a visual on it, we do the HVAC, the roof, attic, foundation, plumbing, electrical. HVAC is one of the things that I really like about us. Is a lot of companies out there will simply look at the condition and age of a unit and write it as near end of life. We do not do that. I don't care how ugly it is. I just care that it works. If it works and it's been kept up, then it will get a pass on our end. I don't care if it's a 25-year-old air conditioning unit. If they can get ambient air cold in 20 minutes, it's a pass. If they can get the heat out correctly, it's a pass. And I'm going to show you some of the tools I use to go ahead and make sure that all of these parts are working correctly. So speaking of tools, one of my favorite is the infrared gun. This is used on every single one of our inspections. What this does is it reads temperature. It cannot tell me if there's water or no water, but it can tell temperature. So for example, I'm gonna have you guys, sorry, Zoom, you're gonna miss out on this one. So once it goes up here, I'm gonna fire it up for you. What we do is we can take this against any walls, we can take it against any of the HVAC, and it gives us a heat reading. So for example, we see this wall right now is reading orange. That's just a regular wall. If I put my hand up here for just a few moments and I pull it back, you can actually now see my entire hand. Oh, not that this thing's, there we go. My entire handprint. You can see right there. You guys see that? So what this does is if I go along walls, if I see a dark spot, for example, you can see this is being used to see a heating unit. You see the wall heater, how it's orange, and then all the orange coming to the ground, but then you see the purple windows. It's because the windows are cold, the ground is warm. So what this can do is if I go through a wall and I see a dark patch, chances are there's moisture there. That's a cold spot in the wall. Usually moisture leaks the cold. I can then pull out my moisture meter and find out if there's an active leak. And this is adequate. This is accurate within 95% of all leaks that we find. We also can use this on HVAC units, right? So if I go up to your attic and I'm going to look at your tubing, I'm going to look at your HVAC ductwork, I can run this along the ductwork. And if I see any errors going right or left, I know we have a hole in the ductwork. So this is something that can go ahead and give us a more invasive look without having to go ahead and actually tear walls apart and not. And this is just an example of some of the technology that we use on every single one of the inspections that we offer. So regardless if you do residential or commercial, and regardless of what package you select, that will be used on every single job. Here is an example of our sewer line. So basically what we do, it's a small camera that's circular. It looks like it's an orange hose. We turn it on, we stick it down the outlet. It's going to go down the clean out, hopefully all the way out to the city line. As this is happening, I'm recording video that later on your client can press play and see the actual video I shot at their property along with the report based on the sewer line itself. We also go ahead and use drones. Drones are going to be used for, it's a $75 add-on for the drone, by the way. But for the drones, those are going to be used for either large estates or if you have tile roofs. Because of my E&O insurance $1 million policy, I cannot walk on a tile roof. I can only walk on a tile roof to certify it. But as far as an inspection goes, I can't physically walk it. So we can either get a drone to go ahead and give you pictures of all the tiles, again, in a separate file you can watch, or we can go ahead and actually put ladders up against it and take pictures of a tile roof as well. All right, we kind of spoke earlier a little bit about how things work out. So the pre-listing, that's the people that are selling out of state or your motivated buyers. So it's the same thing, and you get the same coverages, you get the same report back within 24 hours, you get all of the lease guarantees. It's just now what happens, you have the home inspection done, you then go ahead and put the house for sale, and then you can look at the offers you want to get. So at this point, you can either A, go ahead and take that report, fix everything wrong with the house, then go ahead and try to list it for the highest comp, or you can go ahead, get the home inspection, get the cost of what it's going to take to get things fixed, and then put it on the market for that value. So it's depending on how you want to shift it. So basically, what we see now more often is the buyer's inspection, where the buyer comes in, they have a house, they like it, they do the inspection. After the inspection, then we talk about credits. That's more common to seeing. But regardless which model you use, everything's the same on Elite's end: price, warranties, and turnaround time.
So we need to pay extra for guest house or converted garage?
Yes. So ADUs or anything that's going to be a separate from the main house itself will go ahead and be an additional charge of $75 to $150, depending on the size. Yeah, so like if it's a massive workshop and it's got showers and water, that's gonna be more expensive. It's just a little ADU, probably $75. Now, if you have a garage that's separated but doesn't have power or electric, then that would just be part of the original price. All right, here we go. So now we're gonna get into this. So this is the trifold I handed you guys out. Does everybody have a trifold?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so the first page of the trifold, what this explains is this goes ahead, and this is our Elite package. So this is our program that comes in. This is our first package available, always based on square footage. We're going to look at the entire house, everything we discussed today, using all the cool tools that we have. It's all going to be taken care of. And you also get a 90-day warranty on that work. So let's say we go to your house, we say everything's fine, and within 90 days, a leak in the roof shows up. We'll take care of that leak, no charge. The secondary program we offer is called the Elite Plus. So what this is, it's going to be the cost of the inspection based on square feet, plus an additional $150. The $150 gets you the Elite Plus package. In the Elite Plus package, you're going to go ahead and have the sprinklers and irrigation looked at as well. Your client's also going to go ahead and get a PDF on how to take care of their home from an inspector's point of view. We're also going to give you 5 years of leak protection on the roof, 1 year of mold protection, 1 year on the sewer as well. And in addition to that, you're going to get that repair pricer, which is that secondary report where we give you estimated costs to fix the problems we found, will be included in that package. The final page here is all of our ancillary services. All of these services can be purchased without a home inspection, except for the repair pricer. The repair pricer has to be after an inspection, but everything else we offer, you can buy outside of a home inspection. So the sewer scope, if you go ahead and have it done with the home inspection, is a $225 add-on. If you just want the sewer scope by itself without an inspection of the home, it's $275. We have roof certifications. They start off at $275 for 2 years. They go up to $675 for 6 years. And again, they're 100% transferable. If we come out to your property and we cannot go ahead and certify the roof, the cost of us coming out to certify it will go towards fixing it should you decide to take that step. Air quality testing is basically mold testing. There's 2 ways we can do it. We can either put a machine into the home and measure particles in the air, or we can do physical scrapes, which are then sent to a lab where we have lab results sent back to you within 72 hours, 72 working hours, to go ahead and give you an idea of the kind of mold that you have and the level that it's showing. After that is termite inspections. Our termite inspections are pretty much available all over Southern California. They're $125. We can also offer clearance 1 and clearance 2 and tent if needed. Then we go down to the request for repair pricers. That's that report that we can do that'll give you the cost to find the problems that we found during our inspection. That's a third-party report. And the real value here is you guys don't have to spend your time calling around to get estimates, having people come out, trying to explain over the phone exactly what you need. This is something we can take care of for you, which you then can go ahead and use at the time of closing. Pool and spa inspections are $100. And again, either if it's a pool and a spa, just a pool or just a spa, it's $100. When we do the pool inspection though, we're looking at all of the parts of it that work. So we're looking at filtration, heating, and lighting. If there's a large crack in the pool, we would simply state that a pool contractor needs to come out and take a further look. So we're looking at all the working parts of the pool, the pump, those types of issues. Then we have the drone inspection. That's the $75 add-on if you want the drone inspection done. And just like the sewer cam, you do go ahead and get a secondary link to actually physically watch the video shot at your client's property. And then finally here we have the electromagnetic field rating. What that's for is people who are concerned about the amount of electromagnetic field coming off of power lines or off of power grids behind their homes. It's only $50 because all we can do is give you the readout. There's no hard science showing it does or does not cause cancer, but that's been the concern. So we will do it for $50. You get a readout, but with that readout, it's kind of what you do with it. I've only sold about 4 or 5 of these, and it's usually people up in the high desert that have really large power lines on their property. But if someone's concerned about it, we can look at that. And then the reinspection fee, which I hope nobody in here ever has to go ahead and be charged. But again, that's if we come out to a property and the utilities aren't on, or if we come out to a property and we can't gain access to parts of the house, so it's going to be an incomplete inspection. In order to have us come out again, it's $200. But if you want us to come out to go ahead and check work that's been completed post-inspection, that's only $100. Next, we're going to go to this. This is looks like a postcard. The one side of it talks about our roof certification program. I think we've gone over that a few times now, right? 2 to 6 years. It's 100% transferable. It's all through Elite as well. This is not a third party. Then on the back end, this kind of just gives you an elementary breakdown of how the sewer camera works. So if you have a client that wants to go ahead and maybe is a more visual person, this kind of explains how the sewer cam works. I will say this with sewer cameras, I always suggest them, especially if you see a lot of vegetation on the property. The problem is when a sewer line breaks, you don't know it till you see it, smell it, or step in it. This isn't one of those programs that are you're going to flush your toilet, it doesn't work all of a sudden. It'll start to seep up, and that's when you usually know you have a sewer issue. As of 2020, the average price to put a new sewer line in Orange County was $8,000. So to me, for $225 to save $8,000 is a no-brainer. But again, it's obviously up to you and your clientele. And what we're looking for mostly is going to be root intrusion and any shifting or breaking in the pipe itself.
So what's the 275? You said 225 is an add-on price.
Yeah, 225 is if you have the sewer camera added to an inspection.
Right.
275 is just the sewer camera by itself. No inspection.
itself.
Yeah, no inspection. And then finally,
And the request for repair price, we need to pay extra.
Yes.
$100.
yeah, so it's 99 if you want to add it, or if you go ahead and do the Elite Plus upgrade, it's included in that package. Yes.
On the terminal inspection, will you do any terminal inspection where you don't have to print a copy?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so a majority of the termite guys, if you're not going to be at the property, If you want us to get you a complete termite inspection, we recommend that you maybe give us a lockbox code or something like that. But in order to get the true inspection, we have to get inside the house as well, so we can get it to the attic for a true termite inspection.
And what kind of treatment does this for the termite?
That would be dependent on what they find and the type of termite that they find, but they can do anything from spot treatment to replacing wood to physically tending the home and getting you clearance 1 or clearance 2.
It depends on the termite, sometimes the little ones, sometimes the big ones.
Subterranean or not, yeah, that's it. And then finally, we have this card here. Again, I apologize for the picture, that's just what I'm dealing with, guys. Gotta help me out with that one. So what I want you to do is to keep this. Feel free to call me, email, or text me. If you have questions about Elite, if you have questions about other companies, if you have questions about my report, anything I can help you guys with, let me know. The idea here is really to bring value. The reason that Elite comes out here and does this, it's not just so we can go ahead and blow our own horn. Oh, as I say that, I show all of our high reviews. That's funny. There's some other classes that we teach. This is all new at the end here. We don't care about those guys. You just help me.
Josh.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. So Josh. Oh, well, there you go. That's a quote. We can go back to Josh real quick.
Josh been here quite a few times.
Yeah. So Josh is now. Yeah. So now he's the vice president of sales.
Uh-huh.
This is Michael Johnson. He's been with the company for 13 years. He's the Orange County, San Diego manager. You guys know this guy. And then we have Raquel. She takes care of San Bernardino, Riverside. It doesn't matter where you have a house. You can call any of us. I prefer you call me since I've dealt with you guys. But you can call. I mean, you can call the 800 number if you want. When you call me, there's a few advantages. One is I have a team under me that can move the calendar around. So if you call 800 number and you say, I need Tuesday at 2, and they go, it's taken, that's all they can do. You call me, I might be able to get it moved around a little bit or figure something like that. Also, if you have a particular client, like I said, call me and let me know some of the particulars so I can get you dialed in really well and get it done. I've probably got about 25 or 35 realtors who just have their buyers call me directly now, which is, to me, is one of the most awesome things ever. They trust me enough to do that. So whatever way we can fit in, I'd really appreciate it. One of the best things I really do believe about Elite is that we're not just about going ahead and trying to talk about ourselves. We really want to go ahead and try to solidify the inspection world so that you guys don't have to hear these horror stories or go through bad companies. There are so many agents out there who've been burned by inspectors. I know they actually tell them to skip the inspections because they're afraid they're going to lose the deal, which is unfortunate because in the long run, every time that they skip an inspection, that's someone who can come back later on and sue them based on the fact they didn't get one and they were told not to by their agent. So I know it can be a little dicey times, but hopefully you guys see the value in Elite and the idea that we come here and try to give you some chicken and bribe you. So the last thing I'll say before I open it up for questions is, in a market that's shifting the way that it is now, it is not good enough to be good. You have to be elite. Thank you guys. All right. If you guys want to go ahead and give me the ultimate thank you, be taking a picture of me for social media. If you don't, I get it. A lot of people say no, but
I'll have my son put you on social.
there we go. But if you guys can get, maybe take a picture together, that'd be great. Are there any questions about what I've gone over? Any ads or anything I can take away? No?
I kind of have a question.
Yes.
So, because it's a 1-800 number, when you call, we get randomly somebody.
Yeah.
Complex. Looks like you have 4 here. So what's the structure of the company? Are you 4 like a team, or because there's so many of you?
Okay, so this is our entire marketing sales team. So we have 87 inspectors. All they just do the inspection jobs. Anyone who's any agent, like what I'm doing now, agent education or reaching out to agents or community help. Raquel will take care of any of that in Riverside or San Bernardino County. No, none of us are inspectors. Yeah, no, none of us are inspectors. Our inspectors, like I said, we have 87, and they're all over Southern California. So there are certain areas that some work in better. What we try to do is never give an inspector a job more than about 40 miles from their house. That way their quality of life stays up. So I got people who live in northern Los Angeles County, people who live in San Diego, out in Menifee, down in Orange County. So they're scattered all over. Yeah, but this is just the marketing and education team. Yeah. Any other questions?
My last question, so I know everybody's gonna hate me.
Yeah.
I got the property for sale. I got an inspection.
Thank you so much.
I got an inspection, but then the property fall off of the escrow. So I have a new buyer, but I have the inspection. You can share the inspection report with the new buyer.
Can they? Yeah, they can, but they don't get any of my warranties because they were never my client. Yeah, because that's the thing. Remember at the time I was there.
Correct, right.
Say 2 weeks goes by and a possum moves into the house and gets litter everywhere and there's rats and who knows what happens. that liability is not my liability anymore. So they're only my client. So literally, if I was to look at how like inspect the house for you today and inspect the same house for someone else tomorrow, you guys could use interchange reports. Because legally, my report was made for you as my client.
So that report's not transferable.
No. Well, I mean, like I said, the information they can share, but they don't get any of the carryover from me. I've got to go out there and do it all over again. So it's at the time of inspection for that person. Yeah.
Which is only fair.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it too, is we don't want to, we don't know what's going to happen that night before or day after, so. Is any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, well, two things. If you guys want me to come back again, let your team leaders know I can do their class. And three is, does anybody want to take a picture?
You wanted a group picture?
Yeah.
Lucky you, they took a shower today, man.
Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna do better. Okay, appreciate it. Bye.
It's nice color.
We could use a good background, right?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, guys.
On this
Wait, you're
report.
gonna take it there. Yeah.
Can we after,
Yeah,
we take a picture first?
See as many as you like.